Hey guys, welcome back to the MCU HQ. The first episode of What If, the MCU's latest Disney Plus show, has dropped on Disney Plus. Let's talk about it. Alright, so as I try to do with all these Disney Plus reviews, I'm going to do a non-spoiler section and then a spoiler section. So I'll let you know when I'm getting into spoilers. So if you haven't seen it, it won't get spoiled for you. Don't worry. So this first episode is titled, What If Captain Carter Were the First Avenger? And that's if Peggy Carter takes the super soldier serum and she becomes not Captain America, because she's not, she's British, but Captain Carter. It's the one that's just been marketed to death. It's the one they put smack dab on the front of the poster. We were all excited for this episode, and they decided to start with it. So before we even get into the episode, I just want to talk about the animation style, because it's kind of wacky. It took some getting used to. It felt off at first. I first started watching, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to like this style. But as it went on, I got used to it, and now I dig it. I'm a fan of the style. But I digress. Let's get into this episode. So Peggy as Captain Carter. I really like this choice. I think it was a cool spin. I think it was the right spin to do. And I have to mention Haley Atwell, who did return to voice Agent Carter for this show. She knocked it out of the park with her voice acting in this episode. And I really liked how they used her. And going in, one of my worries is that this would be the first Avenger, but role reversed. That this would just be taking Peggy Carter and just making her Cap, and then the events of the movie play out the same. And it was not like that, thankfully. There were several changes to this story, or to the story of the first Avenger, that made it different enough. I'm not going to get into them in this section because it'll spoil it, but they do change enough elements of First Avenger that it doesn't feel samey. I was watching it and I was like, oh my god, what's going to happen next? I think that was smart. They could have easily done the same thing over again, but they didn't. It doesn't feel like a different story, because it's not, but it feels like a spin on the same story, which is exactly what the show is. And addressing Steve Rogers, he is in this episode, and he is important to this episode. He's Skinny Steve, no super soldier serum, but they made him important. He's not useless. We've seen the poster, we've seen the trailers. He's rocking this 1940s Iron Man armor for the episode. And he actually gets quite a lot of stuff to do. I was really happy with what they did with Steve Rogers. Just because he wasn't a superhero didn't mean he was useless. They didn't sideline him. They put him on the front lines fighting alongside Peggy Carter. It's not Chris Evans doing the voice, though. So if you watch it expecting Chris Evans, prepare to be disappointed, because Chris Evans did not do the voice of Cap, or I guess Steve Rogers, for this show. There's a bunch of returning characters in this. It's not really a spoiler to address them, because they've either been in trailers or cast lists, but we do see Howard Stark comes back, Bucky, Dum-Dum Dugan, Dr. Erskine, all of who are actually voiced by their actual voice actors, and it was really a surprise when I saw Stanley Tucci came back. I was like, oh, cool, that's awesome. I love Stanley Tucci. Bradley Whitford's character from Agent Carter, whose name I cannot remember. Flynn, I think. I think his name is Flynn. He's in the Agent Carter one-shot. He's in this. You have a couple more returning characters. Red Skull's in it. Not Hugo Weaving, though. Ross Marquand, the guy from Infinity War. But I do want to address the Watcher, because the Watcher, we're kind of supposed to be seeing the show through his eyes. He's supposed to be telling us the story. When the episode starts, he is narrating a lot. He kind of narrates for the first couple minutes, and I was like, is this going to be like Birds of Prey level narration in this show? I was kind of getting worried. And then he says one line, and then he stops, and that just goes into the rest of the story. And I was like, oh, that's perfect. The Watcher introduces us to the story, and then the story plays out. And then he just came back to say a bit at the end. I was like, that's exactly how you need to do it. Even though the Watcher is supposed to be the main character of the show, he serves as a background character. He gives us the information we need and then leaves, so that way we can see it instead of being told it. There aren't any post-credit scenes on the episode, although the ending scene could have been a post-credit scene. I will say that. The episode does kind of try to connect to a larger narrative, so you can kind of get hints of some future things that we'll be seeing in this show. Overall, I think this was a very fun episode to start the show with. It's a very fun concept. It's not insanely heavy on like story and lore, which it doesn't need to be. It just needs to be something fun. And it was that. And I cannot wait to see all the crazy stories they have in store for us. So guys, those are my non-spoiler thoughts on the first episode of What If. I am going to get into spoilers, so if you have not seen the episode, just leave now for your own safety, watch it, then come back. Okay, so the Watcher's narration, touched on that in non-spoilers, he starts out by saying the timeline's branched. It's cool, he says these vast new realities, because Sylvie did that, you know, she branched the timeline, so all this is new to the Watcher. And so he gives a little opening narration, and then there's the scene when they're going to give Steve the super soldier serum. And I think, is it Erskine who says it? Is like, wouldn't she be more comfortable in the booth? And she says, no, I'll stay here. And then the Watcher says that's the moment that changes everything. Because by her staying down there, it keeps everyone from the booth down there. So the Hydra guy doesn't blow up the booth. He just blows up while he's in the lab and kills everyone in there except Howard, Steve, Flynn, who's Bradley Whitford's character, and Peggy. And so it's just the four of them, and then Steve gets shot when he tries to fight off the Hydra guy, so he can't get in, and Flynn's upset. He forces Howard to finish the test because it costs millions of dollars. So Peggy says, screw it, she jumps in, which is a cool way to set it up. It wasn't Peggy from the get-go, it was her as a last-ditch attempt. Flynn hates it. He says she shouldn't have wasted money and that she's a woman, so she can't do anything, because he's pretty sexist in this episode and in the one-shot. That's like his defining character trait, is that he's sexist. And jumping around, I'm not going to touch on everything. Steve and Peggy are having a scene, and Steve says that they would make her a mascot for like the war, for the Allies, if, you know, they actually approved of her taking the serum. And then that pays off. Like, it wasn't a throwaway joke just poking fun at the first Avenger movie. It actually like paid off when Howard gives her the suit and says that would have been her propaganda suit, and they smacks the shield on the table, which it's the red and the white, and that's got the Union Jack in the middle. So I did think she'd be called Captain Britain, because there is a Captain Britain in the comics. I thought they were just going to do a kind of a twist on Captain Britain, which I was all for. But then they're like, nope, she's Captain Carter. So maybe they're keeping it open to bringing Captain Britain. So Steve gets the Hydra Stomper, which is just a 1940s Iron Man suit. I don't think they even explained how he got it. Howard is just like working on it. And he's like, hey, you ready to fight for the war effort, Steve? And man, like I said, he was fighting on the front lines with Peggy. He really was. They need air support. They send him in, and he's just wrecking tanks. Like he's just wiping Hydra's forces out. And you know, something I did not expect was the train on the train, because they changed it. Peggy's first mission, she becomes Captain Carter, and first thing she does is get the Tesseract and arrest Zola. She's like, we're not wasting time. She just attacks a convoy and gets that. So the story changes. They don't do the train to get Zola. In this show, Red Skull's on the train, and they go to apprehend Red Skull. And so Steve flies over. He has to kind of slow the train. Peggy leads the Howling Commandos in, because she leads the Howling Commandos now. And when they get there, Steve like breaks his way in, and the whole train just blows up with him in it. And I actually thought they killed Steve Rogers. I was like, Marvel had the cojones to kill Steve the Rogers like 15 minutes into the first episode of What If. But then Howard says that's actually not it, because it's indestructible, and then later they show it made it out, and Steve's a hostage at Red Skull's base. And the final fight was kind of weird, because Red Skull just summons this Cthulhu monster that instantly crushes him with its tentacle. So Red Skull just was not a problem at all, which was a pretty cool twist. And so we get Peggy, Steve, the Howling Commandos, they're just all thrown down against this guy, and Howard pushes a button to try to push it back through the portal, and Peggy says that she'll push it through, and she goes through with it. So instead of going into ice, she vanishes with the monster that I guess transported her through time and space. Because in the last scene, it's the prologue of the Avengers at the joint dark energy mission, and the Tesseract shoots its beam, and where Loki should come out in the movie, Peggy Carter comes out with the sword, the shield, and Fury. There's a great callback to the first Avengers movie. He says, please put down the sword instead of, sir, please put down the spear. And he just says that the war's over, and Peggy says they won the war. And we know we're gonna get more Captain Carter. She has kind of a Winter Soldier style stealth suit in one of the Lego sets. We've seen her talking to evil Doctor Strange, so I think they're trying to use her as the mascot for this show, which is probably why she's also front and center on the poster, and which is why it's rumored that she's gonna appear in live action in Multiverse of Madness. They're really gonna use Captain Peggy Carter as not protagonist, because they say the Watcher is, but I guess the main hero of this show, which is cool because I liked her. If I did not like her, that would have sucked, but they got me on Captain Carter's side, so I'm down for more Peggy Carter. There you go, that's my spoiler review. Also, I guess that's just the whole review on what if Captain Carter were the first Avenger. What did you think of the episode? Let me know down in the comments below. Also, leave a like on this video, subscribe, click on the bell icon to receive all notifications from the MCU HQ. That's gonna be it. Have a great day, guys.